Well, hey there, guys. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the channel for this special part 2 of our Fantastic Four First Steps open spoiler discussion. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you guys here. Thanks for joining me here tonight on this very last-minute impromptu live stream. I thought I was just going to pre-record tonight and then upload it, but I thought, why not just do it live, see if anybody wants to jump in the live chat. We can talk along as well. So hello to Mr. Eng and Meme8638 and Jack and Second Son and Angel and Klaus and everybody else who's here. Good to have you guys here. And again, this is part 2 of our Fantastic Four open spoilers discussion. So in case the title does not give it away to you, this is going to be full open spoilers for Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, we started on Sunday, and we didn't get through all the questions because you guys sent in a ton of comments and questions. So I don't know if we're going to get through the rest of them tonight. We're going to try. We're going to go for about an hour or so, see how many we can get through tonight, and we're going to pick things up and dive right into it, shall we? Let's get things started here. We're going to start off with a question from Sam Fisher, who wrote, "Been listening to the score nonstop. It's so good, especially that main Fantastic Four theme. An excellent song. Names like A Galactus Case of the Munchies." Yeah, which is good. Listen, I'll tell you what. I mentioned on the show earlier today, I have been walking around all week, actually for a better part of a month, with the Fantastic Four theme in my head. Bum, 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 fantastic. It's ever since Michael Giacchino played it at the Marvel Infinity Saga concert that we went to last year, it has been living in my head. I've been humming it to myself every single day since I saw the movie. It is absolutely incredible. It's such a good piece of music. All right, next up, Dad Jokes writes, which movie is more straight out of the comic books, Fantastic Four or Superman? That's easy, Superman. With set and costume design, I think Fantastic Four. Also, the very cliche villains, Fantastic Four. I mean, listen, not to take anything away from it, but like Fantastic Four definitely does feel like a true comic book movie. It really does, no doubt. But Superman, and I'm not saying this makes Superman a better movie. I'm just saying Superman is the very spirit of comic books, classic comic books brought to life on screen. Again, I'm not saying Superman's better than Fantastic Four or that Fantastic Four is better than Superman, but in terms of what to me felt like the best example of like truly a comic book coming to life on screen, I still got to give that to Superman. Again, that doesn't make Superman better. I'm just saying, yeah, I still got to give that to Superman. Actually, and it's not even close. It's not even close. I think it's Superman by quite a fair bit. All right. Next up, Big Cookie writes, the gag of Johnny showing attraction for the surfer and then immediately and repeatedly wondering if the board was attached to her body was pure gold. A board would certainly complicate things. Indeed it would. But you know what? The moment to me that worked the best, when they were talking, about Johnny's attraction to Surfer, is, okay, we all know he thinks the space lady is hot. But then when Sue tells him kill her, he's like, well, that was a kill her, Johnny. She's trying to dig it. And now it's like, okay, well, now I got to kill her, sort of thing. I thought that worked great. I loved it throughout. I thought it was a great little subplot to put in there. So I thought it worked really well. All right. Thanks for that, Big Cookie. Let's see. Next up, we've got, who do we got? We've got Ambivalo, who sent in a $20 tip. Thank you, Ambivalo. Appreciate that very much. The idea to set the movie in its own 1960s retro-futuristic setting is absolute genius. I agree. Not only does it help the viewer buy into the Fantastic Four, who some might find cheesy or anachronistic in a modern setting. Well, here's the other thing it did. The other thing that doing that accomplished was it allowed, without any explanation needed, have the Fantastic Four in a universe where they're the only superheroes. They are unique in their universe. That's one of the reasons that I, for years, have pleaded for DC, and DC started doing it. But for years, I pleaded that DC and Marvel would start doing one-offs. Like, give us, I mean, I love the shared cinematic universe. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I don't want to replace it, but once in a while, give us Elseworlds movies. Give us separate universe movies. Give us movies again where the superhero is not just one of 55 dozen running around, but give us a movie again where the superhero is truly unique in their world. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I love about Batman. It's one of the things that I, love about Man of Steel. Like when Man of Steel came out, he was unique in the universe. And everything you said about Fantastic Four and them using that setting is absolutely true. But what I would add on top of that is the fact that it allowed them to not have to worry about the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the 55,000 other superheroes running along the rooftops. It made them unique in their world, and I thought that was really key for the movie. All right, thanks a lot for writing that in. And again, thank you for tipping that much, man. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. All right, next up. Ambivallo writes in again and writes, but it helps the film stand out from other MCU entries. It also looks phenomenal. See, that's the other great thing about it, is that visually, it gave them this incredible playground to play around with visually. They could do things creatively as far as set design and designing the whole look of the film that were so unique and so apart from everything else that we're used to seeing in either, Marvel films or DC films. So that was another key element to that. Absolutely. All right, next up. JT Hiskey writes, so to be clear, the Fantastic Four from the 1960s that Doctor Strange mentioned in Multiverse of Madness isn't the same ones as these ones. Thank you. Well, I mean, we don't, who knows? Honestly, I say this with a heart full of love for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I always have. But their management of multiverse has been nothing short of abysmal and a joke. Every movie that's introduced multiverse has been completely different from the multiverse concepts introduced in other movies. The multiverse that we got presented us in Ms. Marvel is completely different from the parallel alternate realities presented to us in Shang-Chi, which was completely different to the multiversal theories that we had presented to us in Endgame, which was completely different than the multiversal theories we had presented to us in Doctor Strange. So who knows at this point? Like, honestly, to me, while there have been some wonderful entries in the MCU in the last few years, some of them have been wonderful. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, WandaVision, Ms. Marvel, Shang-Chi, Guardians 3. Did I say the one I read? Deadpool and Wolverine. Overall, the multiverse saga has been a giant catastrophe, honestly. And I'm so looking forward to Secret Wars so they can end it. I'm so looking forward. So to quote, Deadpool and Nicepool in Deadpool and Wolverine, your whole multiverse thing? Yeah, I'm so ready for them to move on from it. If multiverse had at least been consistent throughout their individual movies whenever talking about multiversal theories, maybe you could have felt more cohesive, but instead it just made it feel like even more of a mess. So the answer to your question, JT, is who knows? Who knows? All right. Next up, Arun writes, enjoyed Fantastic Four, thought it would have a dark ending where Galactus eats their Earth and they had to escape, which led to the post-credit in Thunderbolts. That's exactly what my theory was. Now, again, I wasn't sure of that. I wasn't going to put any money on that. But what felt most naturally to me when we saw that post-credit scene in Thunderbolts was, okay, so here's what happens probably. Galactus ends their world, and they were going to get ended too, but at the last moment they were able to escape to keep hope alive, I guess, with a multi-dimensional rift and sneak into the sacred timeline, the 616. And that's where we see them at Thunderbolts. Clearly that's not it. So when does that happen? My guess is another year or two later in the Fantastic Four, like where the Fantastic Four ends with the post-credit scene, which was 4 years later. I'm guessing their ship showing up in Thunderbolts is like another year or two or three after that in their universe. At least that's my guess at this point. But no, Arun, you weren't the only one to think that, because I did too. All right, next up. Ambivalo writes in again and writes, this film made me want to see more of these characters. I actually wouldn't have minded a few more mundane interactions between them, like the dinner scene. Listen, I was talking to Rob about this. While I would agree with what you just said, that, man, I totally could have lived with more of the Reed and Ben conversation on the balcony, or the four of them in the dinner scene, or whatever, Sue and Ben and Johnny in Johnny's room, or whatever. Well, yeah, I would have appreciated more of those too. I didn't have the same feeling at the end of Fantastic Four that I did at the end of Superman. Because at the end of Superman, as much as I love that movie, and I love that movie, I really felt like it was too short. Not just because I was enjoying it, but the pace of the film, everything, it felt like that movie needed an extra 10 or 15 minutes. Just to let it breathe a little bit more. About 4 or 5 key scenes that I think they could have given a minute and a half, 2 extra minutes to. Like that sort of thing, right? That's honestly my biggest gripe about Superman, a movie which I love, was that when I came out of I instantly said that movie felt too short. Too short for what this movie was. It felt too short. I did not get that feeling coming out of Fantastic Four. So I agree. I would have appreciated a few more of those scenes too, because I really appreciated them. But when Fantastic Four ended, I didn't feel like it had been rushed. I did not feel like there were things that should have been in there to make this feel like a more complete movie that they didn't include. You know what I mean? So yeah, I could have used a few more of those scenes, but at the same time, I never felt like it was too short like I did with Superman. But anyway, that's just kind of how it struck me. Thanks for your thought, man. Next up, Nick Alfidi writes, the most aesthetically pleasing MCU film I've ever seen. Maybe. Both tonally and from its beautiful practical designs, you could feel the love that went into ensuring that Fantastic Four First Steps expressed a sense of warmth. Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what. I'm trying to think of another film in the MCU that I might say was as aesthetically pleasing. I mean, think what you will about the strengths or shortcomings of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That was a beautiful film. Like visually, that looked really beautiful in a lot of it, but that was in scenes and in moments. A Web says again, Ragnarok was another one where like the design of the worlds and everything was absolutely stunning and beautiful. That was another really good one. But you know what? I think I might have to agree with you. Oh, that's the other one. Dominic Suma is saying Black Panther. Yeah, Black Panther, especially when you're in Wakanda. But I'm going to agree with you about Fantastic Four because it's not like in Black Panther you had moments in Wakanda. It's not like in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness where you have moments of these fantastical, beautiful worlds. Fantastic Four from beginning to end takes place in this imaginative environment of a futuristic 1960s. It was absolutely beautiful. And you know what? You might be right. That might be the best like overall design of a movie they've done so far. Not the best movie they've done so far, but the best overall design. I think you might be right about that. All right, next up. Karoom Potts writes, did anyone notice the pregnancy stick said, Stark Sweet? I can't wait for Doctor Doom to show up. Wait, what? The pregnancy test had the word Stark on it? Did any of you guys notice that? I've seen the movie twice now. We were supposed to see it again the other night and we couldn't. Oh, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. It said Stork. Stork, not Stark. All right. That makes far more sense. I mean, it would have been kind of a cool Easter egg if it said Stark, but it did not say, okay, it said Stork. Okay, that makes, again, much more sense. Thanks for clearing that up, everybody. All right, next up. We've got Sam Fisher, who writes, Tony Stank. Sam Fisher writes, I read a bunch of Fantastic Four comics in the lead up to the movie, and they take a lot, but also created their own story. Like The Bridge is right from Hickman's run. Oh yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing, Sam. That is true of most of Marvel's films. Most of Marvel's films, you can easily point to and say, oh, they took influence from these comics and these comics and these comics, and then they filled in the rest of the gaps with their own original stuff. Like Civil War is not right from Civil War, but it borrows a bunch of stuff from Civil War and others. Ultron is not a direct translation of Age of Ultron in the comics, but it does borrow a lot. X-Men Days of Future Past borrows a lot from X-Men Days of Future Past and a couple of other story runs, but also makes up its own original thing at the same time. So yeah, I mean, no doubt they absolutely borrowed from comics and were influenced by comics, but then ultimately as a whole, though, it was its own true original film. All right. Next up, we've got, who is it? We got Suthius, who writes, so now we have two children in the MCU with superpowers of the cosmos, Franklin and Thor's niece. Curious to see how they'll fit in upcoming movies. Well, Love is her name. And by the way, you know, that's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but I believe Love in Thor Love and Thunder, I believe that's Chris Hemsworth's actual daughter. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's his real daughter in real life. Anyway, I don't think they were suggesting that she was nearly on the power level of a Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards, here's the thing. In reality, they've never really fully in the comics straight up said, what's the limit of Franklin Richards' abilities? What truly can Franklin Richards not do? He's so powerful, it actually presents a problem. Whenever you have a character like that in your cinematic universe, it presents a problem. Number one, there is, as things stand, there's nothing that can remotely threaten the Fantastic Four because of Franklin Richards. I mean, you can even kill one of them and Franklin will just bring him back. It doesn't matter. And Franklin, if he wanted to, could look at you side-eyed and go, and you and your entire family and everybody you've ever met will just disappear from the universe. Just like that. I mean, and that presents a problem with storytelling. Plus, it also means if in the MCU there's ever a truly big problem, like a nihilist or whatever, like some massive problem, then the fans are just gonna ask, well, why don't they just get Franklin Richards to take care of it? You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with Franklin moving forward. Are they going to nerf him? Because they should. If so, how much and in what ways? How big of a role is he going to play in, or not in Endgame, but in Doomsday and in Secret Wars? Is he going to play a role in them at all? I mean, it's something that's going to have to be taken care of. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that. All right. Thanks for that, Suthius. Next up, Ambivalo writes in again and writes, I won't say Pedro Pascal was the perfect choice to play Reed, but he was indeed well cast. I rarely, if ever, thought I was just watching Pedro Pascal. Here's the thing. This is the way I put it. Pedro Pascal was the perfect choice to play this iteration of Reed Richards. All right. Every iteration, we've had multiple Spider-Men, we've had multiple Batmen, we've had multiple all these characters. Every iteration, like every time we've seen Joker, it's been a very different Joker, right? And they try to then get actors to fit what that, like when they were casting Heath Ledger, Christopher Nolan wasn't looking for an actor that could play Jack Nicholson's Joker. He wasn't looking for an actor that could play Cesar Romero's Joker. He was looking for that actor that would embody this Joker that Christopher Nolan was creating. And so Heath Ledger would not have been the perfect Joker for Suicide Squad. Heath Ledger would not have been the perfect Joker for, for Jack Nicholson's role, but he was perfect for that rendition of Joker. I'm not going to say Pedro Pascal is the perfect Reed Richards, but what I will say is that for the Reed Richards they created specifically for this movie, Pedro was the perfect guy to play that Reed Richards. Maybe not the Reed Richards that was, in the Michael B. Jordan Fantastic Four. Maybe not the Reed Richards that was in Chris Evans' Fantastic Four. But Pedro was perfect for the way they wrote Reed Richards for this movie. And you're right. I never once saw Pedro Pascal. I just saw Reed Richards. And that's a testament to just how good he is and how perfectly the casting was. All right. Disney Gifts by Bryce writes, I don't have kids, but I loved how Reed had that moment alone in the lab with Richard when Reed confided in him, you mean with Franklin, confided in him that there was something wrong with him. Yeah, I mean, because you know what? Here's the thing. The reason that scene I think was so important is because if you take that scene out, there's not a lot else in the movie that gives you a true connection between Reed and his child. Really, if you take that one scene out, where it's him and Franklin alone in the lab, and he's like, so I'm not going to look anymore, and he turns it off. Then throughout the rest of the movie, there's really nothing else there that anchors his paternal feelings for the child. However, you put that one scene in the movie, and that accomplishes that. Now we truly felt this dread and fear that he has about so many things, but especially about his own child and the love and connection he has for his child. So that's another reason why I think that scene was so key. All right. Next up, Cameron Nelson writes, post-credits scene got me excited. Any chance he turns around and greets Sue as a friend and he was just playing with Franklin? Sue then breathes a sigh of relief and says, oh, hey, Victor. Maybe, but I have two feelings about that. Number one is, if he was a friend, then Latveria wouldn't have been the only country missing from the Future Foundation. If in that world, because I don't care what they did in the comics, if in this world, if at this point in their history, if Victor and Sue and the Fantastic Four are friends, then I don't think Latveria would have been the sole and only missing country from the Future Foundation, their version of the UN, right? I don't think that would have happened. So there's that. Secondly, whenever we pick up, I don't think we're going to pick up right at that scene. Wherever we pick up this story, whether it's in Doomsday or whatever, it's probably be in Doomsday, I don't think it picks right up at that scene. I think it'll be some time has passed. So while I don't think what you're proposing sounds bad, and I don't think it's impossible, my guess for all the reasons I just mentioned is I don't think that's what they're going to be doing. All right, but we'll see, Cameron. All right, next up, Wayne writes, looking at the leaked Doomsday concept art, you can see Doom on the throne with a child next to him who looks a lot like 4-year-old Franklin. Yes. Now, here's the thing. We did a video and we covered those leaked images that came out. Several sources have said those have been debunked. Now, I have never been certain that those were real at all, but I've also never been certain that they're not. So I've heard some people say they have sources that says it was true. Some people, say they have sources that prove the whole things were debunked. I mean, whatever. If they're real, then we got some really interesting stuff coming. And yeah, then clearly Franklin is going to play into it. If they're real, but again, I'm not real. I've heard different versions of it, so I'm not really sure which is which. All right, next up. Andy writes, I went to an empty auditorium way before showtime for Fantastic Four and did CM Punk's entrance as he always shouts the Thing's catchphrase in his entrances. Does CM Punk shout it's clobbering time? Is that a recent thing he started doing? Because I used to watch CM Punk way back in the day. I don't ever remember him saying that. Is that something he says now? Mike is saying yes, it's something CM Punk says now. I've talked with CM Punk twice. Super nice guy. So the first time I met CM Punk, was actually at Comic-Con. We were coming out of our hotel, me, and I think Ray, and I think maybe our friend Ryan. Anyway, we came out of our hotel, and our hotel had a little outdoor seating area, cafe thing, and sitting at one of the tables was CM Punk. And you just sit having a croissant and reading a magazine or something. And I was like, should I go over and say hi? He's like, yes, I just wanted to. I said, hey, champ, just want to come. And he talked to us for like 5 or 10 minutes. It was really great. And then the second time I had a chance to talk to CM Punk, we were at a premiere. I can't remember which premiere it was, but we were at some movie premiere. And then we were taking the elevator to go to the after party, and he happened to get into the elevator with us, and we're like, hey, we met at the thing. Oh yeah, blah, blah. So that very cool guy. Just thought I'd throw that out there. CM Punk, very cool guy. Always been very nice. All right. Next up, where are we at? We're at Andy again writes, it was very nice of Marvel to hire John Cena as Vanessa Kirby's stunt double for Sue Storm. And yeah, you can't see me. All right. Next up, Jake Saunders writes, alternate Earth made the galactic threat feel more real. It really did. If it was main MCU 616, I'd think no chance Galactus destroys Earth. Here, I thought maybe 100%. That is yet another advantage of them using this alternate Earth, this futuristic 1960s, because for a good part of the movie, I really did think that Earth was screwed. Whereas if it was the main Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay, well, we know Galactus doesn't destroy Earth, so let's see how the Fantastic Four beats him. But because it was in that alternate Earth, there was very much a very real chance Galactus was going to eat the planet or have his ship destroy it and feed it to him intravenously, however it is he consumes. But yes, 100%, that was another big advantage of them using the setting that they were in. All right. Next up, Gelnemark writes, New Zealand audiences are very conservative moviegoers, but the moment adorable Franklin clapped his little hands at Sue's recovery, we got, awws. Yeah, I've seen the movie twice, and both times, one of the audiences had a big awe, but the other times you just heard like little squeals. Yeah, when mom wakes up, and that was very cute, and it did get the desired response from the audience, clearly with your audience, and it got it both times with the audiences that I was with. All right. Jared Chomik writes, hello, John. I loved the movie. As a father of 3, I loved when Reed confronts Galactus, and even though he's terrified and his voice breaks, he still says, you will not take our son. Yeah, what's the exact line? I love the line. He goes, you will not have our world, and you will not have our child. And the baby wasn't even born yet. I mean, it was about to be born. But yeah, that's some paternal instincts. Now look, there are conversations that I've seen happen online, totally valid and understandable conversations about, well, I mean, if it's a matter of 6 billion people dying, or you just giving up your son. By the way, Galactus didn't say he was going to kill your son. He said he was going to give your son whatever. But you had to give up your son. There is a conversation you had about the people of the world being mad at Fantastic Four is completely understandable. And that, Reed and Sue were indeed being selfish, as one woman in the crowd yelled out, you're selfish. And that's all true. However, I would also propose and submit that if you're a father or a mother, I don't care what you're being presented with in the moment, you are not giving up your child. So I get what everybody else was saying, but I also believe the way that Sue and Reed responded is exactly how just about any parent would respond. But anyway, that's just my take on it. All right. Next up, Jake Saunders writes, Fantastic Four was better movie, but Superman made me feel more. I'm not convinced it was the better movie. I'm not convinced it wasn't. I'm not really sure which one I liked more, to be honest with you. All I know is as a movie fan, I am incredibly happy and incredibly grateful that I got to go see 2 amazing superhero films, one from DC and one from Marvel, back to back. And I've never been able to say that. I've never been able to say in the span of 1 or 2 months, I got to see an awesome DC movie and an awesome Marvel movie. So I'm not convinced that Fantastic Four was the better movie. It had certain things about it that were better than Superman, but Superman, I think, had certain things about it that were better than Fantastic Four. You know, again, to me, movies are experiential events, and both of them delivered great experiences for me. So I'm not sure which one I liked more, but I know that I loved them both. All right, next up. Cameron Nelson writes, I think the 2000 Fantastic Four movie did a better job showing Mr. Fantastic's powers. He is smart, but to me it felt they nerf his stretching in this one. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I would say this. The way I look at it isn't that they nerfed his powers. It's just that they ultimately showed off what truly is his main power. Even in the comics, is his actual main power. And Reed Richards' main power is that he's the smartest man in the world. All due respect to Tony, all due respect to Shuri, all due respect to Dr. Banner, all due respect to all of them. Reed Richards is the smartest guy in the room. And it's not so much that they shortchanged what his other powers are, his stretching ability and stuff like that. It's that this movie just really leaned into his hyper intellect to the point that it even made it his biggest problem. Like his intellect, his unbelievable intellect is also his main struggle. And so, yeah, it's not that they nerfed him in one thing. It's just that they kind of highlighted one aspect of what makes him special. Because with Johnny, yeah, the main thing that makes him special is the Human Torch, flame on, right? Thing, it's his strength, but Reed, it's his brain. And so they kind of just lean more into that. That's the way I took it at any rate, Cameron. All right. Next up, we've got Vin Smoke. Sanji writes, I love the movie, but I do have a nitpick. Johnny's contact lenses. To me, they look like cheap Halloween ones, and sometimes it was taking me out of the scene despite Joseph Quinn's flawless acting. Okay. My only response to that, Vin Smoke, is that I have no idea what you're talking about. I never once noticed any contact lenses. So again, I'm not saying you're wrong. That's what your experience was. I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just saying the only thing I know to say to that is I didn't even notice any contact lenses. I mean, and if I didn't even notice any and I'm not the only one apparently, if I didn't even notice any contact lenses, how obvious could they have been? But hey, listen, maybe you're somebody who wears contact lenses yourself, and maybe you see that a lot more easily than the rest of us do. But yeah, I didn't notice any of it myself though, Vin Smoke. All right. Next up, we got Andy who writes, when Sue Storm gave the speech to everyone that the Fantastic Four and the entire world would deal with Galactus as a family, Dom Toretto got the biggest heart on with family. So, I mean, I like the speech. I did. I thought that was a very good speech. I don't think it was the greatest speech we've had in Marvel. Like, it's no Captain America Steve Rogers speech as they're about to go, you know, through what do they call it again? What does Ant-Man call it again? What's it's not into inner space. What do they call it again? The what? The quantum realm. Like the speech Steve Rogers gives as all the Avengers about to go down into the quantum realm to try to solve the problem in Endgame. It's not quite on that level, but it was a very good speech. I'll give it that. All right. Next up, we've got Sam Ash who writes and sends in like a $20 tip. Thank you, Sam, for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that, dude. He writes, poor Reed not only has to save Multiverse and Doomsday, but he's got to save his wife from Doom and Namor too. Context, in the comics, both Doom and Namor have massive crushes on and are highly obsessed with Sue, in my opinion. By the way, there's also versions of the comics and certain storylines where Ben is in love with Sue as well. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a good thing she's so loyal to him because, man, yeah, everybody in the Marvel Cinematic Universe wants a little taste of Sue. Everyone wants a taste of Sue, Sam. It's going to be interesting. I don't think they're going to bring the Namor thing into the actual movies. The Victor thing, I could see them bringing in, maybe if in the Marvel Cinematic Universe they say Victor and Reed have a more deep history, maybe it'll be a more of a surface level one. But yeah, that could be a problem for poor Reed for sure. All right. Let's see. Next up. Where are we at? We're at Jason Weeby, who writes, absolutely loved Fantastic Four. In awe during the black hole sequence. That sequence was amazing. Major Interstellar vibes. The whole Silver Surfer chase / black hole sequence is possibly the best sequence in the MCU. I wouldn't go that far. 10 out of 10, but it was great. I mean, seeing Surfer literally surfing the cosmos in that whole black hole thing and the bending of the lasers and all that, it was visually amazing. Now, I definitely would not say it's the best sequence in the MCU. I'm not even sure I'd put it in the top 5, top 10 for sure. But it is great. I mean, it was one of the highlights of the movie for me. It's a sequence I'll be thinking about for a long, long time, Jason. I'm going to be thinking about that sequence a long time. It was just visually gorgeous. I loved it. All right. Next up, Joshua Racco also sends in a $20 tip. Thank you, man. Appreciate that very much. Writes in, I love this movie. It's old school MCU at its finest. No convoluted multiverse plot. Even though it is in and of itself a multiverse story because it's in an alternate dimension. But anyway, no convoluted multiversal plot. It's a simple story about a celestial trying to have his breakfast. But in all seriousness, it's just a great time all around. And I agree. And like, notwithstanding the irony of saying there's no convoluted multiversal story when the whole thing is in and of itself a multiversal story in a way. You're right. It's just this is one of the reasons why I love the ideas of DC having a separate Batman movie once in a while, or a separate Joker movie, or like having some Elseworld kind of things, because you can tell these kinds of stories without worrying about what's the ramification on the next 7 movies coming. You don't have to worry about that. Like, see, like one of the previous writers brought up, we as the audience can suspect that as we're watching this movie, Galactus may indeed destroy this world. If it was in the MCU, that's not even a possibility. That's not a freedom that Matt Shakman would have as a director, because, well, no, you can't do that because that'll impact all these 15 other movies we have coming and blah, blah, blah. And they have these creative handcuffs. And so that's why I love the idea that they could have these movies that are completely isolated from other stories. Just tell Elseworlds. And you don't have to say they're multiverse. Just say they're Elseworld. Just say it's a different story. At any rate, yeah, man, it was a straightforward, simple story inhabited by great characters, great dialogue that just elevate the whole thing. And it was wonderful. Again, I don't think the best MCU movie ever made, but it's Marvel firing on all cylinders, and they're kind of functioning at their peak right now. All right. Thanks for that, man. Vin Smoke writes in again and writes, sometimes you being you hurts me. Yeah, that was a great line. Well, I don't mean to. Living with someone on the spectrum, this line did hit home hard. Here's the other thing I loved about that scene, Vin Smoke, was a lot of stereotypical movies would do the best friends or the husband and wife. They have a disagreement over something and it causes a major rift. But in reality, like, this couple knows each other and they love each other and they know the other loves them. And I love the fact that this movie, and this is why this scene I think was so good, which is sometimes you being you hurts me. And he's like, I don't mean to. And she knows that. She knows that. She knows that in a million years, Reed would never intentionally hurt her. She knows that. So to me, the brilliance of that scene was that it showed the best of couples can have disagreements, but not everything is going to lead to some cataclysmic falling apart of the relationship that a lot of movies will do for dramatic effect. Rather, what could have been this explosive, foundation shaking argument between these two characters that changes the nature of their relationship and will they end up together? Instead of doing that, it's an argument between two people who, number one, truly love each other, and number two, knows the other loves them. And so they were able, in the midst of a very difficult situation, still able to navigate their way through it. And I loved that. I thought that was great. I think lazier writing could have handled it differently. But the way they handled it, I thought was great. All right. Good observation, man. Next up, Joshua Racco writes, I know this is probably not the cause or not the case, but am I the only one who got the vibe that Franklin created Doctor Doom out of thin air in the mid-credit scene? No. Like, I might, maybe 5% suspect that if there was absolutely no reference to anything remotely related to Victor Von Doom in the entire movie. If there was no reference of anything remotely connected to Doctor Doom in the movie, then you suggesting that, I would maybe give a 5% chance to. But the reality is there is direct things referenced in the movie that have direct connections to Victor Von Doom, particularly Latveria. The very fact that the movie made a point of the camera zooming in on the Latveria nameplate and the empty seats, right? Because of that, we know he's there. He's there in this world. So while Franklin certainly could have done that, I don't think that's what the movie is suggesting. You could be right and I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case here. All right. Next up, we've got Vince Smoke again, who writes, I don't dream, I don't wonder. I invite the worst possible thing into my head to figure out how to hurt them before they hurt anyone else is so Reed. Listen, again, my fascination with this character. I've talked about this on part 1 and I talked about this on the John Campea Show, but let me bring it up again here. The fascinating juxtaposition of how genius influences the character of Tony Stark and how genius influences and shapes the character of Reed Richards. Tony knows he's one of the smartest people in the world. And that knowledge of his own intelligence, the way that impacts his character is, number one, it gives him supreme confidence that I'm so smart, I'll be able to figure my way out of anything. And it also adds to his ego. It creates this flamboyant, egotistical persona, which is part of what makes his character so awesome, right? To the point that even in Spider-Man, after he's dead, he creates Edith. Even in death, I'm the hero, sort of thing, right? That's what this higher level intellect does to Tony Stark. Well, what does higher level intellect, even the highest intellect, do to Reed Richards? It does the exact opposite. The curse of Reed Richards' insane knowledge and intelligence makes him always aware of what he's incapable of. See, with Tony, his intelligence just makes him totally focus on everything he is capable of. With Reed, his hyper superior intelligence only makes him all the more aware all the time of the things he can't do. He's so smart that he's constantly fixated on just how much he doesn't know. And that, whereas to Tony, his hyperintelligence is this gold bling chain around his neck. To Reed, it's a heavy weight around his neck. And I love the way the MCU has juxtaposed that with these two superior minds, Tony Stark and how it affects him, and Reed Richards and how it affects him. And I think that's absolutely brilliant the way they do it. And yeah, that speech that he gives is very emblematic of that. All right, next up, Tim Platt writes, admittedly, I was nervous about how Pedro would portray Reed, but the way he delivered the "I scheduled that for later, figure you'd be panicking, I scheduled that for later" line had me rolling and putting my fears to rest. Again, I will say what I said earlier in the stream. It's not that Pedro Pascal is the perfect Reed Richards. It's that Pedro Pascal is the perfect actor to play this version of Reed Richards. And the way he was able to deliver lines like that, and with this character that he helped manifest, is just a great example of that. I'm right there with you on that, Tim. All right. Joran Koch writes, hey, I love the movie. Thank you, man. Yeah, I did too, man. I thought it was great. And thank you for writing that in. Tevin writes, do you think the mid-credit scene would have been more impactful if they never announced Robert Downey Jr. as Doom? I imagine with no prior info, he looked back and said, hey, Sue, and this was our first time finding out. Okay, here's how I'll answer that. It's a matter of what's your grand total. Would you have gotten a little bit more of a pop? And again, who cares about how much pop you get in a post-credit scene? I'm sorry, like I like post-credit scenes too, but ultimately at the end of the day, is it that important? Not really. But would you have gotten a bigger pop in that post-credit scene had none of us even known that Robert Downey Jr. was coming into the MCU as Doctor Doom? Sure. Yeah. So it got a pop. Maybe it gets this much pop. But here's the thing. So they got this much pop. Maybe they would have gotten this much. So they missed out on this much pop, right? They missed out on that much pop. How much pop and buzz and talk did they get from Comic-Con and bringing out Robert Downey Jr. on stage as Doctor Doom? Immeasurable. Immeasurable. It became the talk of the planet. It dominated discourse online. So yeah, you would have gotten this much more of a pop if we didn't know. But the pop they got from letting the world know was exponentially more than whatever minute amount of pop you might have missed out on, because it already got a pretty good amount of pop from just what it was. Anyway, yeah, that's a great point. Jeff is saying we're still talking about it. It's true. A year later, it's been a year later, we are still talking about new mask, or same task, new mask, or whatever it was he said there. And the fact that he's going to be back. I mean, we are literally still a year later, still talking about it. So yeah, I think it worked out the right way for them, Tevin. That's just the way I take it at any rate. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got AP or ARP writes, just when you got over Daddy, I'm So Alone, Marvel hits you with Tell Franklin Uncle Johnny loves him. Man, listen, we were just talking a minute ago. Oh yeah, that's what the line was. Dark Knight is reminding me. The line was new mask, same task. Okay, there we go. We were just talking about like, which did I like more, Superman or Fantastic Four? And it's too soon for me to say. Like, I love them both. I'm not sure which one I'm going to end up liking more. But I'll tell you what, I'm not even 100% sure which I like more between Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts. Now, granted, I loved Thunderbolts. I loved that movie. And I've had a lot more time to sit and marinate on my experience with that because it's been months, right? Fantastic Four is still brand new and fresh to me. But my God, Thunderbolts was so good. And you're right, man. That line when she says, Daddy, I'm so alone. I mean, just that whole movie is just filled with amazing moments. And again, it's the first time in a while that we could say, holy crap, Marvel knocked out 2 great films in a row. Been a while since we've been able to say that. But yeah, it's just the fact that the last 2 movies I've gotten to see, last two superhero movies I've gotten to see. Superman and Fantastic Four is awesome, but also the fact that the last two MCU movies I've gotten to see in a row, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, is also great because they've been pretty hit or miss. They've been pretty hit or miss, and the fact that we've got a couple of great ones in a row is really great. All right, next up, we got Ambivalo again, who writes, shout out to Michael Giacchino for the awesome score. I've listened to the main theme countless times since it was revealed last year. Dude, not only, if I'm in my car, I gotta say it quietly because my phone's here. Hey Siri, play Fantastic Four theme, Fantastic Four first step scenes. Bum, bum, and it plays in my car. Not just that, but as I'm scrolling through my YouTube, see, it immediately responded. And it says now playing, so I got to stop it. Hold on a second. Even though I really whispered it, it heard me. Well done. Even when I'm scrolling through YouTube, now, like, constantly this video comes up from, I think, the premiere where Michael Giacchino came on stage with the big orchestra and actually plays it live. It's amazing. It's such a good piece of music. All right. What are we at next here? We are at Sam Fisher, who writes, I'm sorry, but Reed and Sue were not late for dinner. They waited less than a minute. Late is 3 to 5 minutes minimum. No. Sorry, Sam. Love you, brother. But people like you drive me crazy. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. Dude, it's not often that I get on my show and talk about something that grinds my gears about my wife, Ann. But I'm going to tell you, and I don't care if she hears me say this and how mad she is, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It drives me crazy. My wife, Ann, has a much more loose relationship with punctuality. I'll say that. My wife has a much more loose relationship with punctuality than I do. I hate when I'm late. The only thing I hate almost as much as me being late is when somebody else is late. Because when you're late, you are showing disrespect to the people you are late for. Because you are saying other people's time is not important to you, that other people's time is not valuable. If you tell someone, like to me, if you tell somebody you're going to be there at 7, you should be there at 6:58. 7 at the very latest. It is a major pet peeve of mine. As a matter of fact, I remember for a while, I had several speeches that I would give, you know, whether I was at AMC or Collider and bringing on new staff and bringing on new people. But I would often quote James Earl Jones from the movie Best of the Best. And I would always say, make sure we do this, make sure we do this, make sure we do this. But one of the things that I would always say to everybody new that I was bringing on and hiring is this: don't be late. Don't ever, as James Earl Jones would say it, don't ever be late. It shows disrespect to your teammates. It shows disrespect to me. Like but that's his. I didn't go to say that part, but I would say, but the last thing is, don't be late. Don't ever be late. When you say you're going to be somewhere at a certain time, be there, because other people are going to be relying on you being there. And it's disrespectful. So no, Sam, bad. 3 to 5 minutes late is not still on time. That's late. If everybody else can be there on time, then you should be there on time. And if you can't be there on time, you should have a damn good reason. But yes, it's such a pet peeve of mine. Such a pet peeve of mine. Oh, anyway. And again, you're not going to see me any more angry than when I'm the one keeping somebody waiting. I hate that. Oh, I feel so horrible when I'm the one keeping somebody waiting. Anyway. All right. Next one. Urine writes, I have seen it in German and I loved it then. I will see it at least 4 more times starting on Thursday. You know, it's funny. Ann and I went out to dinner tonight We just went to we got a Red Robin right by us here. We went there. I had a delicious crispy chicken salad. It was delicious. Anyway, and as we were having dinner, we were like, maybe we should go see Fantastic Four again tonight. And it's like, well, the earliest one was going to start at 9:45, and that's a little bit too late. But we were talking about how many more times we want to go see it. And we are going to be going to see it a number of more times. All right, next up. We've got Scott D who writes, loved move, probably meant movie. Question, did they show Galactus ship past the moon and it still took a while to get to Earth? This bugged me. Anyone else? Well, not really, because when he entered the solar system, right, we are given a sense of time passes. Like between when he passes Jupiter and Mars, this much time passes. From when he passes the moon to Earth, there's actually only that much time. So it wasn't terribly inconsistent to me. You could also think about it in terms of the expanse. Where, okay, he's come into the solar system now, but as he's approaching Earth, he's coming slower and slower and slower and slower, the closer he gets to Earth. That's a simple explanation for it as well. Just a thought. All right. Next up, Dakota Valdes writes, do you think Franklin prevented Reed and Sue from getting pregnant for those 2 years until he was ready to be born? A bit of a stretch. Stretch? Yeah, no, because he has to exist in order to, like, if she got pregnant and then stayed pregnant for 2.5 years instead of 9 months, then you can say that. But he didn't exist yet. Right? So I'm going to guess the answer to that is no. It's just that he didn't exist yet. However, remember, the movie does lay out, to your point, Dakota, the movie does establish right away that they did try for a while to have a child and they were never able to do it. Now, there are lots of people who try to have kids, aren't able to do it, and then later on do it. I mean, so there's nothing magical about that. But I don't know, maybe that little thing at the beginning where they said we have tried for years to get pregnant and now we've just given up on it and now we're pregnant. Maybe that points to Franklin, like the cosmic entity of Franklin self-conceiving. Again, I don't think that's what they did, but you never know. It's possible. All right. Guys, we only got about 2 more minutes here and then we're going to have to, because I plan on doing tonight for about an hour. And obviously we're going to have to do a part 3. We're clearly going to have to do a part 3. But we're going to just take a couple more questions here before we wrap it up. Calvin writes, hey, John, I loved the movie. Solid 8. But like as part of the MCU, Earth 828, I couldn't care less if the Earth was destroyed or if the 4 of them died. Elseworlds destroy stakes for me. Bring on the filthy. Oh, I disagree. If the story is told right, okay, here's where it wouldn't have made any difference to me. If it was Universe 828 and it was the Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Groot, Rocket, Mantis, whatever. Because, well, we've already got our Guardians of the Galaxy here, and now we have and then, well, it doesn't really matter. We've got our other Guardians of the Galaxy. The fact that in the 616, we do not have the Fantastic Four. So the fact that in the 616, like this is our only iteration of the Fantastic Four, like all due respect to the John Krasinski short-lived thing of that, this is our only Fantastic Four. It's not copy number 725 of a million versions of them. This is our only Fantastic Four that we've had. This is the only this Earth we've had. So like to me, the fact that it wasn't in the 616 actually gave it all the more stakes. Like I said earlier, because if this movie was happening in the 616, Calvin, no way would you ever even remotely think for a second that Galactus was going to destroy the Earth. That's not even a possibility. Because it has too much impact on all the 15 other movies they've got coming, right? There's no chance watching that movie in the 616 that you ever remotely feel any sense of stakes, because there's not any chance that Galactus actually destroys the Earth. There's no chance of it. But in 828, Oh yeah, I actually thought there was a very legitimate chance that he could destroy this world and kill all these people. 100% I did. And because there's actually a chance that could happen, the stakes are elevated far more. It's like one of my all-time favorite shows, Sons of Anarchy, right? The very fact that they had no qualms about killing major characters. Same as Game of Thrones. But for this example, I'll talk about Sons of Anarchy. They had no problem, if it meant serving the story, killing off major characters because of that. You know, in most TV shows, oh, there's a gunfight. Chances that one of our heroes gets shot in this gunfight, 0.00. But in Sons of Anarchy, whenever even just like a random gunfight breaks out, you know one of your favorite characters could actually die any second now. Like when Opie died, I didn't see that coming from a million miles away. When there's a chance that could happen, the stakes are risen. And I think for this, the stakes felt way higher to me than in almost any MCU film. Because again, if this movie took place in the 616 of the MCU, zero stakes because there's no chance Galactus destroys the Earth. In Earth 828, I actually put odds that he was going to destroy the Earth. So I felt the stakes even more. All right. Last question we're going to take tonight. King Daddy Goat writes, Galactus stretching Reed made me wince, no lie. It made me wince too. But it is a little nitpick of mine because we saw how far he was stretching Reed. I feel like in a couple of shots of the movie when he was using his powers, of his stretching powers, I felt like we've seen him stretch more than I feel like we saw Reed just purposely stretching himself more than it didn't feel like Galactus was stretching him very much. Like, I feel like what they should have done, instead of Galactus doing this, Galactus should have grabbed him and done this. And if he'd done that, maybe I would have felt it a little bit more. But instead, I was looking at it and saying, I feel like Reed can stretch that far, no problem. A minor little nitpick, but yeah, there's that. All right, guys. We made some good progress tonight, getting caught up. You know what? I'm going to take a minute here while we're here. And I'm just going to take some questions from you guys in the live chat. Since you guys have been nice enough to join me in the live chat, just do me a favor. If you have a question or an observation, just put the word, like the way I just put it in there, put the word question all in capital letters. And I'll just answer a couple before we wrap. Now, I'm not going to read every one that comes in. I'm just going to pick out a couple and just read a couple, and then we'll end up tonight. But yeah, we'll see. So let's see if any of you guys, I know there's like a 15-second delay. Let's see here. WNN writes, what's your favorite MCU movie? It's easy. It's the movie that I still think is the best comic book movie of all time, which is the first Avengers film. That first one with Tony and Cap and Hulk and Hawkeye and Black. I still believe that is the greatest comic book movie of all time. So I'd have to still say that's my favorite MCU movie. Let's see. Where are we? We are at Mike writes, question, how prominent do you think the Fantastic Four will be in Doomsday? I think pretty prominent. With the inclusion of X-Men and Avengers. I've heard some whispers saying that Reed is actually going to kind of be the leader of the whole thing. I wouldn't doubt that at all. So I don't know that he's going to be the leader and everything, but I do think they're going to be very prominent in that. Let's see. Sir Malson. Well, Sir Malson, we're here to talk about Fantastic Four right now. Let's see. Ohio writes, do you think they future F4 sequels could be set with the 4-year gap between the ending and the end credit scene? Oh God, I hope not. That would be stupid, because then we know there's no stakes. We know exactly. We know they're fine. Move stories forward. Don't go backwards. So I 100% hope they're not dumb enough to go back. No, let's tell the stories before what happens in the... No, we've now moved forward to the point in time that Franklin is 4 years old. Let's keep the story moving forward at that point. So no, I don't think they will, and I really don't think they should go back to that time period. Let's see here. DJ writes, is there a character who you think would have been good to have in this Fantastic Four movie? Honestly, I mean, I think there's a lot of characters that could have done well in the movie. But honestly, for a first Fantastic Four movie, and I remember we said this a few months ago too about who do we expect to see and blah, blah, blah. The only characters you really needed in it were the four. You needed Ben and Johnny and Sue and Reed. And really, again, there are many other characters that you could have put in there that I'm sure would have done well, but that's really it for the first one. That's all you really needed. Some people insisted you need to have Doctor Doom. It's Fantastic Four. And I said, you certainly don't. You don't have to have Doctor Doom in the first one. And so, yeah, let's put it this way, DJ. I never felt anybody's absence. You know what I mean? Like I didn't watch this movie and have this gnawing feeling that something or someone was missing. I never had that. So to me, it worked out very, very well. And all right, guys, that'll do it for tonight's part 2 of our Fantastic Four open spoiler discussion. We are, of course, going to have a part 3, and that'll happen in the next day or so. So keep your guys' eyes open with that. Hey, guys, listen, thank you so much for joining me for literally this last minute impromptu live stream. I think like over 800 of you were in the live chat at one point on a totally just launching a live stream. And so many of you guys came and hung out. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that very much. Hey guys, make sure you come and join us for tomorrow's The John Campea Show. We've already got a number of really cool things lined up that I'm very excited to talk about. Hope you guys will join us for that. And yeah, that'll do it for us tonight, guys. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the tip questions for it. Appreciate that very much. And thank you to everybody in the live chat for firing in questions as well. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.